This exercise is asking, find the factors of the prime number 5. I am going to use one of the techniques for finding factors that were introduced earlier in this playlist. At the end of the video, I will then show you why it was not necessary to do all the calculations that we have been doing for all the previous finding of factors of numbers. Because the number is prime, finding the factors is actually straightforward. I'm going to start off with 1 and ask, is there a number I can multiply 1 by? In other words, is there a number that will go in the question mark position such that the calculation of 1 times whatever the number may be equals 5? And of course the answer is yes, there is. And that number is 5, because 1 times 5 is 5. Let's continue this process and ask, is there a whole number that I can multiply 2 by to give me 5? In other words, can you think of a number that goes here? And the answer is no. There isn't a whole number that will multiply 2 to give you 5. Let's carry on. We'll go to 3 next, and we'll ask 3 times, is there a number I could put here in the position of the question mark? A whole number, remember? And the answer is no, there isn't. Let's go on to the next calculation. 4 times a number. Is there a whole number you can think of that will go in the position of the question mark? And the answer is no. Continuing the process, we come to 5. But if you look, the 5 also appears here. So we can see we have a repeat of the 5. The 5 has been repeated in the calculations. So I don't bother continuing with finding out if anything can multiply the 5. The fact that the 5 is repeated means I stop doing the calculations. I will now remove the unnecessary information from this slide and then observe the calculations and see if I can identify the factors. Well, we've got 1 most definitely as a factor. 2, that's not a factor because we couldn't find a number to multiply it. 3, that's not a factor. 4, that's not a factor. Now the other factor is clearly the 5. So I can see the factors of 5 are 1 and 5. Now if a number only has 2 factors as shown in this example, where one of the factors is 1 and the other one is the number itself, in other words 5, well that tells us that 5 is a prime number. Therefore 5 is a prime number. Now what I'm going to say here is if you look at these calculations, there was actually no point in doing them. So we really shouldn't have bothered with those, because when you spot that the number is a prime, then you are finding yourself just using 1 and that number. So knowledge of primes is quite important because it stops you having to do lots of calculations. What about 7? That's a prime number. So what are the factors of 7? And the answer is 1 and 7. 1 and itself. 1 and 7. So let's move this statement to the top of the slide. 5 is a prime number. Now straight away, if you know it's a prime number, then you know the factors are 1 and 5. 1 and itself. So let's consider another number. 7 is a prime number. So what's the factors of 7? The answer is 1 and 7. Well, let's choose a general number, x. And let's say x is a prime number. So what's its factors? Well, it's straightforward. Its factors are 1 and x. Whatever its value is, x represents all the values of prime numbers that you can think of. So the factors will be 1 and that prime number, which I'm representing here by x. Let's move these two statements to the top of the slide and let's look at it a little bit more formally. The factors of any prime number are 1 and the prime number itself. There are no others. So we can go on to say a prime number only has 2 factors, 1 and the prime number itself. So if you know the number that you're trying to find the factors of is a prime number, you don't have to do any calculations. The factors are 1 and the number itself, the prime number itself. 13 is a prime number. So the factors of 13 are 1 and 13. I recommend that you memorize all the prime numbers up to 10. Once you've done that, I would then have a go at memorizing all the prime numbers up to 100. It'll certainly help you in many areas of mathematics, but it'll certainly help you, as you've seen here, when you're finding factors of numbers. If you can identify the prime number that you've been asked to find the factors of, you know there are only two, 1 and the prime number.